Well, I think in game it's not going to be as much about managing minutes as positioning us to win the ball game. If we're in a position where we can do that, then we will. I think more so.
Yeah, it really helps because you're right. She's like a plug and play. You can utilize her with lots of different matchups on the floor, lots of different.
Overload them, so to speak, from a mental standpoint. Highlight high level stuff. Get some shots up. It's more so about what we're doing outside of game right now, and we got to save their bodies.
Breaking news, Caitlin Clark will not suit up against the Las Vegas Aces, and this might be worse than anyone imagined. Coach White confirmed it's all about preventing re-injury, but fans are outraged by the lack of a clear timeline. With Clark out, will the Fever crumble under the pressure of their biggest game yet? Let's dive into the shocking details and what's really going on. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Imagine this, the Indiana Fever just celebrated their biggest win of the season, but instead of joy, there's a dark cloud lingering. A 4-game absence from Caitlin Clark that nobody can ignore. Her groin injury, confirmed to be an adductor strain, is no simple tweak. It's the kind of injury that demands caution, something the Fever are painfully aware of, especially after their historic mishandling of injuries in the past. For Clark, this prolonged burn on the sidelines is about more than just missing games.
While still maintaining the physicality of being able to defend bigger, stronger offensive players. So we won't get the same looks.
Teammates and rotations on the floor. She's improved in her ability to get to the rim.
Yesterday being off physically and having more of a mental day, and coming in today and making sure that we just highlight the high level stuff, not over.
It's a gamble on her long-term career. Here's where it gets tricky. Adductor injuries might sound minor, but rush recovery, and they can turn chronic in a snap. The Fever learned this lesson the hard way last season when DeWanna Bonner's stress fracture wasn't communicated clearly, frustrating fans and raising questions about how the team handles player health. Stephanie White and the medical team are determined not to repeat history, and it's not just lip service. This isn't about today or even this month, White explained in a press conference. It's about the years to come. Caitlin's long-term health has to come first, no matter what. But this isn't the first time Clark has faced setbacks this year. She missed 5 games earlier in the season, nursing a nagging quad strain, which already disrupted her rhythm as a rookie. Combined with her current absence, Clark's now been out for nearly a third of the season, casting a shadow over her once red-hot start.
I think it's just something innate about her. Her ability to stretch the floor, what she brings to the table as a pick and pop threat.
But her versatility, especially defensively, allows us to utilize her in a lot of ways.
Well, I think in game it's not going to be as much about managing minutes as positioning us to win the ball game. If we're in a position where we can do that, then we will. I think more so.
Missing time has chipped away at her momentum, and with the All-Star game around the corner, the buzz around her being a first-time selection is cooling fast. Fans are holding their breath, but questions are swirling. Will she even be cleared in time to appear? This new transparent approach from the Fever.
Yeah, it really helps because you're right. She's like a plug and play. You can utilize her with lots of different matchups on the floor, lots of different.
Yeah, I think her and KK. I think both of them will be able to get good opportunities right now, being able to come in and make an impact. I thought Breezy did a really good job for us on the road.
It takes a sample size, so the hope is you get Dee Dee back, and you get C back at some point, and.
Prioritizing communication and caution is a major shift for the organization, but it's not without a cost. Still, the team isn't collapsing under pressure. In fact, what they've managed to pull off without Clark might be the most shocking part of all. You'd think losing Caitlin Clark would have sent the Fever into a complete downward spiral, right? She's the heart of their offense, their firepower, their everything. But here's the twist. They just pulled off one of the most unlikely wins of the season, clinching the Commissioner's Cup without her. And it wasn't just luck. This team showed depth and grit when it mattered most. Let's not sugarcoat it though, the Fever have been struggling. Without Clark on the court, they've gone just 2-4, and closing out games has been a constant headache. Even when they build solid leads, sometimes even double digits, it doesn't stick.
That we have with Dee Dee on the floor, but putting together rotations that can give us different kind of looks while still
She's a great off-ball cutter, so she's not just a traditional 3-and-D.
Really, I think anytime you lose a player like Caitlin that's going to be out of the lineup, you definitely have to adjust things. Fortunately for us, the timing of having Aerie back helps with that.
Fans saw this firsthand against Phoenix recently, where the Fever let a 13-point lead slip into a nail-biter by the fourth quarter. And now, they're up against the Las Vegas Aces, a team with a reputation for dominating late in games. That's about as much pressure as you can stack onto a team missing their biggest star. But when everything seemed stacked against them, Natasha Howard decided it was her moment. In the Commissioner's Cup final, with no Caitlin Clark to run the show, Howard exploded onto the scene, delivering 27 points and 12 rebounds to earn MVP honors. Her performance wasn't just impressive.
Keeping the floor spaced for AB is going to be important.
You anticipate BT getting a lot of that time in the short term?
And you finally have a roster, right, that gives you an opportunity to do that in a larger sample size. I mean, we've had
overload them, so to speak, from a mental standpoint, highlight high-level stuff, get some shots up. It's more so about what we're doing outside of game right now, and we got to save their bodies.
and conversations about it in the off season, but you don't truly get a feel until you get a feel for who can play together, who can play well together.
It was commanding. She controlled the boards, fought through double teams, and anchored the team's defense in the clutch. It proved a crucial point. This Fever squad has more dimensions than people give it credit for. Stephanie White deserves some love here too. After the win, she made it clear what made the difference. "It's about more communication on defense," she said.
How much of that is experimenting, practice feel? How do you get a feel for how to actually best use versatility on a game-to-game basis?
Well, I mean, we had ideas about
particularly defensively. I mean, she's a veteran. She's been around. She understands player tendencies, and she's also always ready to roll. And for KK, I think it's an opportunity for her to get some minutes as well and get out and get some experience.
Who it looks like can play well together on paper doesn't always manifest itself when it comes to the analytics and the numbers, and so it takes a sample size.
Because she has been in the system, she does understand what we want out of the system. And the last time she was here, I think Caitlin was out as well. So, for us, having that familiarity is really good.
When you don't have someone like Caitlin to lead the offense, you focus where we can be consistent, on stops and discipline. White has leaned into this, using defense as the foundation for a team missing its offensive star. But don't forget, the Fever have a pretty rough history when it comes to competing against powerhouse teams like the Aces. And while this big win proved they can thrive without Clark, the road ahead won't be getting any easier. That brings us right back to the bigger question ricocheting around this season. Caitlin Clark's absence is forcing the Fever to make a choice many teams aren't brave enough to face. Short-term wins versus long-term stability. Stephanie White's decision to hold Clark out against the Aces isn't just cautious, it's strategic. It's about the years to come, White said, highlighting the team's focus on minimizing re-injury risks. Without Clark, the Fever face a tougher road, but their resilience has been tested and they've stepped up in surprising ways. The question is, will this commitment to the big picture pay off, or could it cost them their competitive edge in the season's biggest moments?